welcome to Week and Geek, your new comics preview for August 22nd. I'm Mike Ortiz.
And I'm the Chris Brown.
What do you got?
I'm going to lead off here with a book that didn't actually ship this week. Shipped a couple weeks ago, but I didn't get mine. I had a package lost in the mail, and I finally got it a few days ago. But it's a book that I very much wanted to give some love to because I read it and really liked it. I'm looking at Ursa Minor, #1 from Big Dog Inc. Tom Hutchison, friend of the show. We did that interview with him sometime last year. Really, really like their stuff. I really do. I think Tom's a good writer. This book, really, really enjoyed it. It's got essentially all kinds of creatures. It's sort of a... There was a problem at one point with werewolves. Vampires strike a deal to get rid of werewolves. And so suddenly we flash to the future where there's things uneasy between werewolves and vampires. And not just werewolves, but were creatures. There's a werebear in here who's also an exotic dancer, which is kind of interesting. So as one of my customers said, strippers and werewolves? Sure. Pretty good stuff. I really liked it, and I'm really looking forward to the second issue, which should be coming soon. And sticking with that Lost Box, I've also got Legend of Oz Wicked West #4. The first three were books. I believe the first book we talked about when it first came out so many months ago. And this is just a really great reimagining of The Wizard of Oz. I really like it as sort of a Western. You know, Dorothy Gale is... she's a cowboy. She's riding her trusted horse Toto and trying to find the Yellow Brick Road, which is a road paved in gold, and unfortunately thieves have stolen most of it. It's kind of interesting stuff. You know, the Scarecrow is sort of this interesting, weird little girl, but she's, made of straw. She can do some strange things. The lion is sort of an interesting character. It's in the Tin Man is just a rusty old sheriff. Pretty cool stuff. Like this book quite a bit. So we are apparently experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties. Our camera is going in and out on us at the moment. So we're going to do the best we can. I dropped the camera. Next week we go HD. My next book's America's Got Powers. It's issue #3, sort of an American Idol superhero kind of deal. Kids are competing for powers. Next up, I'm going to power through these because, again, we don't know how much camera we're going to squeeze out of this week.
Borrowed time.
I'm looking at Dead World, War of the Dead, #4 by IDW. Once again, written by Gary Reed. I have not had a chance to start any of this yet. At this rate, you're probably going to hear from me next week, and hopefully I will have read all 5 issues at that point, and I can give you a full review on the whole thing in HD. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #13. It's been a great book. Co-written by Kevin Eastman and Tom Waltz. Great stuff. Really liking this new Turtles. Just fun stuff. Kind of dig it. Mars Attacks #3. This is the only book this week I did get a chance to read. I really like Mars Attacks. I've been enjoying it the whole way. And sort of a weird one where, we started out in the first issue. We had the circus. There's the story that's back in time, and they're flipping between the first crash landing of the first alien to now with this invasion, Mars attacking, if you will. And we go back to the manager of the flea circus from that and flash to him now, and some fun stuffs are going on with giant bugs. That's the bulk of my stack. You best hurry. I'm
going to start off with Batman Incorporated #3. This was supposed to come out a couple weeks ago, but it was delayed by DC because of the shooting. This introduces the Matches Malone character to the new DC, the DC New 52
universe. Yeah, it says the return of Matches Malone.
And this continues the Leviathan storyline that's been running throughout all of this. I really don't see why it was pulled, but... they were just being a little overly sensitive.
And no fanfare. This week they didn't say anything like, go ahead and sell that. Go ahead and push it. It wasn't even on my invoice.
Next up, Unwritten #40. Continuing what I think is Vertigo's best book. Well, Punk Rock Jesus is pretty close.
Pretty awesome.
But for 40 issues, this has been pretty solid. Go back and just listen to what I've said about the previous year's worth of issues. Next up, Superman #12. This book is not very good. But the next issue, a new team takes over. Okay. So rather than have a hole in my collection, I'll continue this. Plus, Jesus Marino
starts with 13 or starts with 0.
Next issue is 0 with the new team.
It starts with the new team. Okay.
So yeah, this and that you can tell they're killing time for the new team to take over, and it reads like.
Some people got nothing but time, not us.
Yeah. Next up, Amazing Spider-Man 692. They wrapped up the Lizard storyline. I don't really know what's going on here, but there's a bunch of Spider-Man on the cover.
Yeah, there was a poster that they gave away at San Diego.
I guess this is the 50th anniversary issue. Looks pretty good. Dan Slott. Reed Richards is in there somewhere. That's Spider-Man. Just go get it.
Cool.
Next up, Mark Miller's Super Crooks, issue #4. This is the finale to his superhero heist storyline. Last issue, the heist went off, and things went wrong, and here's where they're going to have to try and fix everything. Next up, Planetoid number 3 by Ken Gehring and Image Comics. This is actually really good.
I hear great things about it.
This is a solid book, a good sci-fi book, another great Image sci-fi comic. Guy stranded on this planetoid trying to find a way to get off. All kinds of weird stuff is going on. Feels kind of like one of those 80s sci-fi movies in a lot of ways.
Okay.
But yeah, solid stuff. You should really give it a shot. Next up, Green Lantern New Guardians number 12. This is wrapping up the storyline that began in issue 1, where all of these different rings came to Kyle, then all the different lanterns came together. We found out in the last issue that it was not Larfleeze behind it, but Sade, the Guardian, that was basically the Guardian for the Orange Lanterns. Sade had a plan, a reason to bring all these people together, and this we find out why, and apparently there's some big changes in the book next issue. So
interesting.
We'll see what happens to this team of Rainbow Lanterns. Next up, Uncanny X-Men 17. This continues the Avengers vs. X-Men storyline with Mr. Sinister coming up with a plan to steal the Phoenix powers away from the Phoenix Five. Since we kind of know what happens in X-Men, we know he fails. Also because he's the bad guy, of course he's going to fail.
Right.
But yeah, if you like your Mr. Sinister, and this has actually been a solid book. You know,
cool.
It's going to be ending soon, as all the other Marvels are. But not all, but at least many of them.
Right.
But it's been a pretty good, solid run by Kieran Gillen on this book, so check it out.
Awesome. Well, I guess that brings me to the top of my stack here. I'm looking at Invincible number 94. This book has been fantastic. Mm-hmm. I've really enjoyed it. They've been doing this story where they're explaining what happened to Robot and Monster Girl. You know, from issues ago when they jumped through this portal chasing these creatures, and then they come back, and they've been a little uneasy, and they're explaining what happened. They were there for what they perceived as years, 20 years. They weren't aging at all, but they were there a very long time, and they come back, and it's like no time has really passed. But they're explaining that story and why those two are not real comfortable with each other right now. And some interesting things there. You know, Mark is dealing with the fact that he doesn't have his powers because he has been blasted with that virus. Mm-hmm. You know, that they were going to use to kill the Viltrumites. Looks like there's a Guarding the Globe backup story in it. Kirkman's a great writer. For me, I think his two masterpieces are Invincible and Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of stuff going on. I really like, the story for Thief of Thieves is his. He's had different writers on it. But everybody's loving Walking Dead. That is for, this is for heroes what that is for zombies. If you're not reading Invincible and you like capes and tights, you need to be adding this one to your stack.
Great ongoing superhero storytelling.
Yes. And it evolves.
Yeah.
It evolves and the characters grow, and I love that. You don't get a lot of that from the big two.
Yep. And 6 months till issue 100, and apparently some big stuff going down there.
I would imagine. Hopefully my favorite character doesn't get beaten to death with a baseball bat. I'm just saying.
Well, they promise somebody dies, or maybe everybody dies. My top pick this week is A Fond Farewell to Glamourpuss. This is the last issue of Dave Sim's bizarre experiment in critiquing the fashion industry and giving us the history of photorealism, which sort of blended into his analysis of the death of Alex Raymond.
And that stuff was all really interesting. It was the spy fashion stuff that always threw me off.
It's a weird book. Definitely an acquired taste. I'm probably one of the few people who's reading it. I'm sure if there were a lot of people reading it, he wouldn't be ending it. But I guess he is moving on. His new project is going back and releasing all of the Cerebus in digital format. Hopefully after that, they'll put him out in some nice hardcovers too. He raised some money doing Kickstarter, and hopefully this will be this was kind of a stage in his post Cerebus career. Started with Judenhaus, or Judenhaus, I don't know how you pronounce it, where we got some very realistic and some historical stuff. Now he's going back to Cerebus and preparing it for a new audience with commentaries and behind the scenes stuff like that.
He's an interesting dude.
Strange guy, but very unique. And I still think one of the best comic book artists and letterers that we've ever seen. So if you haven't picked this book up before, you're probably not going to pick this up now. But I just want to say that for the last 26 issues, it was bi-monthly, so that's 4 years.
Yeah.
This has been a hell of a ride. I guess he's going to collect all of the Death of Alex Raymond stuff into one volume. eventually as well. But yeah, fond farewell to really one of the strangest comic books I've ever seen. I don't even know if you call it a comic book. Well, it's words and pictures.
It is.
So yeah, it's this is an experiment, a 4-year experiment that I really was very entertained by.
Really kind of both brilliant and narcissistic at the same time.
I would say that describes Dave Sim pretty well. So yeah, Glamour Puss, goodbye. Let's see what he comes up with next.
Fair enough. And with that, we made it through that whole stack without any interruptions. So let's hope we can pull a little camera out so I can edit this damn thing. With that, that is your Week in Geek.